Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a deeply compelling framework, Black feminism, and what allyship actually requires, particularly from Black men. We're going to break down the core arguments of this source text, looking at exactly how it defines responsibility and actionable change. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. The source asks a really critical question to set the stage. Can advocacy even exist without a shared identity? Some folks might wonder how a Black man can actually call himself a Black feminist. But the text argues that this entire question is built on a totally flawed premise. Advocacy absolutely doesn't require you to share the exact identity of the people you're supporting. Instead, what it requires is a deep, genuine commitment to understanding the realities they actually face. Basically, the author is saying that if you have Black women in your life, this work is already your responsibility. It's an obligation rooted in connection, not some kind of birthright. Section 1. Rethinking the allyship premise. The author lays down a really firm assertion here. You don't get to opt out because you weren't born into it. It's a demand for unwavering commitment. The argument is that having distance from an identity is definitely not an excuse for inaction. In fact, it's the exact reason why a conscious, deliberate effort to understand is so absolutely necessary for genuine allyship to exist. Section 2. The cost of being last. Now, what's really interesting about this next concept is how the author frames the systemic stakes through the lens of colorism. The text defines colorism as a system that places darker-skinned Black women against measurably steeper barriers in society. It makes the case that discrimination really isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of issue. It's a highly layered, complex system where specific traits, like skin tone, create these incredibly intense societal obstacles. And to make this abstract concept a lot more tangible, the author outlines exactly where these barriers pop up in daily life. We're talking about hiring decisions, media representation, the dating market, and perhaps most critically, in how quickly individuals are actually believed when they report harm. The text really wants us to understand that these aren't just, theoretical ideas. They are measurable, structural roadblocks that affect literally every facet of a person's livelihood and security. The source grounds this theory with a really stark observation. It shows up in who gets promoted, who gets cast, who gets taken seriously in a meeting. It kind of forces us to hold up a mirror and look at our own workplaces, our own media consumption, and the very rooms we sit in every single day. Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds into the practice of allyship. So the text lays out this actionable playbook, breaking it down into 3 core tenets. Number 1, unlearning patriarchy. Number 2, accountability. And number 3, embracing intersectionality. The whole emphasis here is on doing an internal audit of your own socialization, rather than, say, stepping in to act as some kind of savior. It's very much about how doing that internal work is what actually leads to real external change. Looking closely at those first 2 steps, the text mandates that you have to name harmful mindsets and actively work against them. And this is paired with strict accountability. Basically, that means holding yourself entirely responsible when you participate in or even just stay silent around misogyny. And yeah, that absolutely includes the casual misogyny that so often just gets waved off as a joke. The author's point is clear: silence is complicity. So the crucial point here is that 3rd step, intersectionality. Referencing Kimberly Crenshaw's foundational framework, the text shows how race and gender overlap to produce these really unique challenges that neither identity can explain completely on its own. The author treats this not as some optional theory, but as the mandatory starting point. You literally have to see the intersection if you ever want to actually see the barrier. All of this leads to a really powerful conclusion about what allyship actually is. It's definitely not a static label or some certificate you earn and just hang on your wall. The text draws this brilliant comparison, arguing that allyship is like fitness or sobriety. It's an active practice. It's a lifelong, continuous commitment of unlearning and rebuilding that you literally have to wake up and return to every single day. Which brings us to a final, really provocative question for you. How will you apply this framework of continuous unlearning in your own daily practice? Because if allyship is truly like a muscle that needs constant training, the real work starts the moment this explainer ends. Think about the rooms you're in, the jokes you hear, and the biases you might unconsciously hold. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.